Ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to begin the funeral services of David Mayzel. We welcome those of you who are joining us via live stream. For those of you who are here, please take a moment to be sure your cell phones have been turned off. Rabbi Philip Sherman, Senior Rabbi of B'nai Joshua Beth Elohim, will be officiating. At this time, I invite those of you in the first row to please rise as the rabbi approaches to perform the ancient ceremony of Kriya.
Yai nai nai nai, yai nai nai nai, yai nai 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 nai, yai nai nai nai, yai nai nai nai, yai nai 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 nai. Yai nai nai nai, yai nai nai nai, ya da 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 da. Yai da da da, yai da da da, ya da 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 da. God of comfort, you who heal the brokenhearted and bind up their wounds, grant comfort and consolation to the extended Mayzel family as they face their grief. Fill their lives with the acts of loving kindness and faith which serve as a genuine memorial to David, the deep bond of love that will remain unbroken. And let our collective sadness in this moment reach out to David's family. David was the beloved father of Stephanie, Daniel, Cassandra, and Lisa of blessed memory. A loving and proud grandfather to Lily and Mavis and Arian. Cherished son of the late Joseph and the late Dina Mayzel, both of blessed memory. Dear brother of Judith and the late Marv and Susie and Bob. We also extend our sympathies to his former wife, Arlene, and the many, many friends who were part of the family of David. David was always someone who truly loved being home. And so to keep him safely at home, his family decided that 24/7 care at his home would keep him most comfortable as his health declined. The pure love of his sister Judith, made that possible, and the family lovingly did whatever was necessary to keep David comfortable. The Mayzels would like to acknowledge two additional members of the extended family, Christine and Linus, who are both here today, who showed David and his entire family the ideal meaning of compassion and care. And the Mayzels are forever grateful. In our tradition, the rabbis say that of a righteous person, that even in death they continue to live. The light is dim at this moment, but the light of David's spirit will not burn out. The light will continue to burn strong in the memories for those people for whom he cared. The light will continue to burn strong when we live up to the values for which he stood. The light will continue to burn strong in the hearts of those he loved and those who loved him. May David's memory continue to shed light and warmth on those who were blessed to know him. David had many loves: his family, his friends, classic rock, and certainly sports, most especially golf. These loves permeated every aspect of his life. His caring and thoughtful presence was felt by all who knew him and were loved by him. And so in this moment of sadness, we look to the words of our tradition, which for millennia have served as a source of comfort. And we find meaning this day to link these words and David's life with the long history and traditions of the Jewish people. Psalm 121. Esainai Eleharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esainai Eleharim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Ezri Mehim Adonai Ose Shamayim V'Haaretz Ezri Mehim Adonai Ose Shamayim V'Haaretz. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. Psalm 15. Adonai, who may abide in your house? Who may dwell in your holy mountain? Those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may do not retract, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken. As you walked in this morning, you received a pamphlet, and I want to invite us to read together the words of the 23rd Psalm in English together. which help us recognize a God who is with us in our loss and who leads us through the valley of the shadow of death and back into light. Let's read together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo hechzar, Binot eshe yarbitzeni, al me menuchot yinahaleni. Nafshi yeshovev, Nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni b'magle tzedek, leman shemo. Gam ki helech begetz amavet, lo hiara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha umishantecha, Shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan, neged zorerai. Di shanta v'shemen roshi, Di shanta v'shemen roshi, Di shanta v'shemen roshi, kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed, Yirdefuni kol yemei chayai, V'shavti beveit Adonai, V'shavti beveit Adonai, Lehorech Yami. This time, we'll hear words of memory and blessing. First, recordings in their voice, words of eulogy and blessing by Susie, and then by Judith, and then we'll invite Joel forward to share some words of blessing and memory. So if we can offer the recording for Susie, from Susie at this time.
David, it's me, Susie. When a love and loss are so profound, there are no words left, only feelings. When I think back to my childhood, looking through the eyes of a little sister, David always seemed larger than life to me, and still does. He schlepped me everywhere, to work with him, hanging out with his friends. And now when I think about this in retrospect, he must have had to do this, to babysit me, but he never made me feel like a tag-along. I always felt like I belonged with him at work, with his friends, and at his basketball games. As adults, I could see the pride in his eyes and hear it in his voice of the success I experienced in my career and in the person I became, and then in his love for Bob. Both David and my sister Judith played a large part in my upbringing and beyond. It is no small wonder that his favorite place to be was the golf course. Water, sky, trees, grass, rain, sun, friendships, all while continuing to perfect an incredible ability and skill. Zen before Zen became a thing. Abundant love, friendship, respect, compassion, never materialistic, no false pride nor ego, with a great and easy smile and abundant laughter. That is the brother I have always known, for now and forever and always. When a love and loss are so profound, there are no words left, only feelings. To my dearest Dolly, loving you infinities.
And now we'll have an opportunity to hear words, recorded words from Judith.
Friends and family, David and I shared a love of the outdoors, and we both found nature mesmerizing. During recent years, when David was no longer able to walk his favorite Zen-inspiring golf course, we would sit together on his deck when the weather allowed and marveled at the beauty of the trees and the varied sounds of the natural world that surrounded us. We each had our favorites, and it was during those precious moments that we knew we were blessed. On a more personal level, I've been a poetry fan since childhood. Our dear father left a poetry book on the kitchen table, and it was then that I discovered that words were magical, and much later on, that words mattered, and now how words are helping to heal. In memory of my brother, it is an honor to share with you, each one of you, one of my favorite Zen nature poems. It was written by our poet laureate, Ada Limon, and it is called Instructions on Not Giving Up. It is my belief that everything is connected in one way or another, in peace and with much love. More than the fuchsia funnels breaking out of the crabtree, more than the neighbor's almost obscene display of cherry limbs shoving their cotton candy-colored blossoms to the slate sky of spring rains. It's the greening of the trees that really gets to me. When all the shock of white and taffy, the world's baubles and trinkets leave the pavement strewn with the confetti of aftermath. The leaves come, patient, plodding, a green skin growing over whatever winter did to us. A return to the strange idea of continuous living despite the mess of us, the hurt, the empty. Fine then, I'll take it, the trees seem to say, a new slick leaf unfurling like a fist to an open palm. I'll take it all.
Thank you both. I want to invite Joel forward to offer some words of memory and blessing.
Did you really think I wouldn't bring one? I brought this because I knew Dave would be upset if I played with his. So I made sure I had my own, at least for our last round for a while. We'll play again. I've been asked to say a few words on behalf of all of his friends. We only have friends. Dave was a middle son between two daughters, and yet he has 1,000 brothers. Many of them are all sitting here. And I wrote down 17 pages because they told me to be quick of some of anecdotes for Dave. And the truth is, Dave was my friend. He was cantankerous, he was difficult, he was stubborn, he was obstinate. But he was very loving and very passionate about those things that he did love. It was very difficult to be Dave's friend sometimes, as all of us know, and yet, here we are. We were here almost at the beginning, and now we're here at the ending, or at least for a time. I moved to Skokie in 1958. I was in 5th grade in October. I went to Sharp Corners School, and the first person when I walked into the room was Dave. I said, this can't be good. And it turned out 65 to 70 years later, not so good. But here we are. We did everything literally together. It was not unusual to play baseball at recess, to come to my house for wiffle ball tournaments at night. Lewis would play, I would play, Dave would play, and then we'd have to get my father to fill in as the fourth, which he so gladly did. And we did nothing but that. We had an easy childhood, all of us. Dave would skate, played hockey. A lot of people didn't know that Dave played hockey, but he did. And he would skate down Now Center Road, and we would go meet May Paris at Terminal Park. And we'd play hockey at night. Why? Because baseball was over during the day. We didn't have lighted fields. But if we had had lighted fields, I think we would have played. We went to Old Orchard Junior High after Sharp Corners, where we met more people like us. It's interesting that so many people here are Dave's friends. I think the answer is we haven't made a new friend in 65 years. We're just not capable of it. So we had to stick together, and we have. Through thick, through thin, a lot of ups, some tragic things have happened, but we always made through it. It always was okay. And no matter what you said and what you did, you still showed up. No matter how bad it might have been, no matter how hard you might have been fighting with them, you still showed up. And everybody forgave everybody. When we went to high school, Dave and I were the same height. I can't make this stuff up. We were the same height. Now, he was a little thinner than I was. Dave was, we shared pants. I wore 34 30s and he wore 30 34s. And we swam freshman year in the nude. Now, Dave and I were a year ahead of most of the other kids because they skipped us in first grade, I think just because we could say our name. We were going to school in Chicago, and each one of us independently wound up a year ahead. And so imagine going into the swimming pool and you're 14 years old nude with all the rest of the boys, some of who were older and, shall we say, more mature. It wasn't easy. But then again, nothing was easy, and we laughed about it. After we would go and play baseball, etc., on the weekends, we still had to go to services. Now, Dave's idea of going to services was we'll get dressed, we'll keep gym shoes outside our houses, and then we'll go to Sharp Corners because they have open gym. And that worked out spectacular. Everything was great, except we decided to go to Victor's afterwards to have fries and a Coke. And of course, who was always sitting at Victor's? Dave's mom. Oh no. And she would look and she'd say, nice outfit. Knowing well that we weren't at synagogue and we were supposed to be, but she was okay with it. I'm going to skip the next 30 pages. Dave inherited two things from his parents, two really important things. One, his mother's white, beautiful hair, which his sisters have. And the other was his father's temperament, which sometimes wasn't as good as you would like it to be and sometimes was better than you thought it should be. It was not unusual to see Dave's dad, Joe, sitting in the upper rafters at Niles North watching Dave play basketball, and he was sitting by himself, and he had his arms crossed, and you could tell he was not happy. But he loved his son, and we loved watching Dave play, and Dave was a hell of a player. We have guys here who we played Little League with. Now, I know Little League has always been a big, for 60-something years, all my friends say, oh, no, you're not going to talk about Little League again. But those were our highlights. And I'm looking out, and I'm seeing guys who are on our teams. I'm 76 years old. Should I know my Little League team? Should they still be here? What does that say about the relationships that we all had? And it continued, no matter what. Sundays, we used to go play tennis. We were in our late 20s or 30s. Bones and I, David Bartlett from time to time, Dave from time to time. And then we'd go have something to eat. And then it became the tennis wasn't quite as important as just getting something to eat. And then it just became every Sunday night at 8 o'clock, we would meet at Denny's. Well, we shut down Denny's. Now it's IHOP. It's still going. And that's, I don't know, got to be 40 years later. And you think, what could you guys possibly talk about after 65 years that you haven't already said? And the answer is nothing. Well, we can't remember anymore what we said yesterday. So now every story is terrific, and they're new and they're fun. Dave played basketball and baseball our first 2 years of high school, and then the lightning bolt struck. And it was golf. It was golf in the morning, it was golf in the afternoon, it was golf in the evening, and then we talked about golf at night. But it was always golf. Bones used to say that Dave was always 1 degree of separation from golf on any conversation you wanted to have. And I think he was right. But we sure loved it, and we always, enjoyed watching Dave play because Dave was so good. I mean, really, really good. Everybody says they were good now. Oh, I was a great basketball player, I was a great tennis. Forget about it. Dave was good. In fact, Dave was great. And he was so good that Bones and I put together as his management team, without Dave's consent, to take him to the long drive contest in golf at Cog Hill, first time. Dave didn't care. He didn't know anything. He brought a driver and himself and I think a peanut butter sandwich, which is usually what he carried. And Bones and I took care of everything. We were the managers, right? We got the balls. We got them signed up. We paid everything. Dave, all you have to do is hit the ball. And there were some professionals there, and the 2 idiots chasing around Dave to make sure he was okay. And sure enough, when the longest drive was 282 yards, I'm sure they'll mention that I made a mistake. Dave gets up and hits it 305 in the air. And that was Dave. He won the Illinois Long Drive Championship 3 different times. But the truth is that all of it was so important to him because all of us played the same thing. I mean, you couldn't play basketball anymore if you really played, 16-inch softball, which he played forever, but you really couldn't play. Our bodies would give up, but everybody played golf. And this was Dave's heyday when that happened. And, he had lots of sayings. One of them was, if you miss a round of golf, it's a round you can never make up again. Today, he would be pissed because we could have played today. It's a little misty, but you got to learn to play in every condition, and no matter what it is. Now, we laugh. He meant it, and he did, and he played in every condition. Dave played basketball and golf in college at a very high level, at an elite level. But he never talked about it, unless it was a funny joke. You never heard Dave say anything about how good or bad he was, or maybe how bad he was, because people on Butterfield Row were always vomiting when he was playing. You see a picture of him in the handout today, and that was from later years, but those were the things that Dave would say constantly, because his level of play was so high, and as we got older, it wasn't quite so high anymore. Of course, we would tell you we were great, but that wasn't true. But Dave was still good. And then he got sick, and his family, his kids, and God bless you, Arlene, for everything. You're a woman to be admired. Took care of him. And we tried our best to go and visit and talk, and of course the conversation usually got around to who won the '82 U.S. Open, which he still had on tape and would still watch from time to time. And this continued on throughout his life until the very end. And I think that Dave would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that all of these things led to the camaraderie and the love that we each had for each other. Oh, we fought. We still fight. So what? So what? Because at the end of the day, this is where it all stops, at least for a while. So on behalf of all of his friends, and there are many who are here and many who are probably watching, thanks to his family for taking care of him so that we could still spend some time with him. It was important. Womb to tomb, he would say to me, womb to tomb. Well, here we are. And it will be womb to tomb, but it'll go on after that because you see, it doesn't matter to me that today he's not able to play. There's no goodbyes. I'll have no goodbyes for David and I. I'll see you when I see you. We'll play again. We'll be stronger. I hope I'll be taller. And we'll be good. And we'll play every golf course in the world and throughout infinity. And that's what you hope for, because that would have been heaven to him. Many years ago, he and I played in a professional pro-am in Nashville, Tennessee. It was the highlight, I think, of our golfing lives, because here were 10,000 people lining fairways, and here's these two schmucks from Skokie walking around going, and Dave said to me on the second fairway of the first day of that tournament, "Are we in heaven?" And the fact of the matter is for us, it was. We got to play with the pros. It was just great. And now he gets to play in heaven. And so, Dave, thanks for everything from all of us. Thanks for letting us join in the joys and even some of the sorrows of your life. And I'll see you when I see you, buddy. There are no goodbyes. And thank you all for coming and celebrating his life today.
Thank you, Joel. This evening, as we welcome in Shabbat, we will also light the third candle of Chanukah, the holiday known as Chag HaOrim, the holiday of lights. Because during the darkest of times, we look to the light of Chanukah and our menorah to light our spirits and dispel the darkness. As we enjoy the light of the Hanukkah menorah, we recall a rabbinic teaching which explains the source of light in the world. It is said that when on the first night that the earth began for Adam, the first human, he was terribly frightened, wondering what might come of him in the darkness. But according to the Midrash, God placed two stones before him. One was said to be the stone of darkness, the other stone, the shadow of death. Adam, seeing the potential in the stones, picked them up and struck them together until with his last bit of strength, he produced fire. Soon his dwelling place was filled with light and with warmth. God did not give Adam light. Rather, God provided the stones, the means by which Adam did the work which resulted in the miracle of light. And so it was with David, who we mourn today. God provided David with the stones of kindness and caring, which he struck together to produce a light which dispelled the darkness in this world and warmed all those who had the good fortune to be in his presence. David embodied this light of compassion and care. From his youngest days in Chicago, he was a protector of his sisters, and who also protected him. He loved his family. And we just heard he really loved when he moved to Skokie when he was 9, because the circle of his extended family grew as he met some of his lifelong friends. Our condolences to all of you. David learned this essential nature of connection and relationships as his family sat down to dinner nearly every night together. Friends were always in their home, and as his family shared with me yesterday, he was deeply invested in relationships, which is just so incredible as a virtue. David not only brought people together to share in life's moments through his care and humor, but also his tenacity and tremendous ability in sports also brought people closer together to play, to cheer, to celebrate, to have fun. His mother, Dina, of blessed memory, was so impressed and confident in his abilities in basketball and golf that I understand that she, as an employee at the high school, would often bet his skills against detention among his friends. David loved sports, but he also worked really hard at them. Just like he would tell the same story over and over again, he worked on those skills over and over again until they were perfected and nearly excellent. He even received a scholarship to college to play basketball and golf. And Stephanie remarked that his high school yearbook named David as the star ball handler and outside shooter. And a star and light he was. You see, David illuminated the world for his sisters as a father who showed up for his children and built a dollhouse for his grandchildren, whom he adored. He was compassionate and generous, and his love unconditional. And he was a proud Jew who found great meaning and purpose in the times he shared with his family around the holiday table, and particularly looked forward to the food. I learned yesterday that David would often use the language of hyper-Rahmanis. And if I understand it correctly, that is to say, a particular moment included or needed a whole lot of compassion and love, which just describes David in every way. His soul illuminated a radiance that shed light on his family and all who knew him. It was this light and the light of his friends that supported David through tragedy and pain. It was because David invested in relationships, and it was through those connections that supported him endlessly. Just as David showed up for all of you and added light to your lives, together each of you will be bearers of this light and the ways in which you share his stories, teach his lessons, and lift up his memory. Love was everything for David, and he shared so much of it in this world. Like a shamash on the menorah, lighting the lights for all other candles. May the love that he brought into this world be enduring forever. Chaim Stern once wrote, "'Tis a fearful thing to love what death can touch, a fearful thing to love, to hope, to dream, to be and oh to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings a painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing to love what death has touched." Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May David's righteous memory forever be a blessing. At this time, I want to invite us to rise as we're able, as we offer words of El Malei Rachamim, a memorial prayer and blessing. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamse Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShchina, Im Kedoshim Utochim, Kezoar Ki Hamazirim, את נשמת דוד משה בן דינה ויוסף, שלח לעולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתירהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ביצור חיים את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר Amen. God of abundant mercy, God most high, may the soul of our loved one who has gone into eternity find the gift of perfect peace in your embrace, together with the holy and pure whose light shines like the radiance of heaven. Compassionate God, hold him close to you forever, so that his soul may be bound up in the bond of life eternal. May he find a home with you, and may he rest in peace. And together we say, Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the interment service will continue at Shalom Memorial Park, located at 1700 West Rand Road in Arlington Heights. The family will be together at Max and Benny's today until 5 p.m. following the interment. The address of Max and Benny's is on the service folder, and then Saturday from 5 to 8 p.m. they'll be at the Mayzel residence at 2748 Valor Drive in Glenview. Memorial contributions to the First Tee Greater Chicago, that would be appreciated. Please note the description about the charity. It's on the service folder. For those of you who are joining us via live stream, all that information can be found on the funeral home's website. For those of you who will be driving in the funeral procession to the cemetery, the procession will be forming in the parking lot. Please obtain an orange safety funeral sticker to place on the right-hand side of your windshield. Have your bright lights and hazard lights on at all times. Please do not speak or text on your cellular phone while driving to the cemetery. The following people have been asked to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, please stand next to David's casket. David Bartlett, Steve Cohen, Stuart Hertzberg, Mike Klein, Joel Levin, Dan Mayzel, Susie Mayzel, and Roy Posen. This time I invite everyone to please rise and stand as we bring his casket to the hearse, and then you may return to your cars.